Let me ask you this: for those who are represented by another agent already, what is your best practice on that? Because one thing that we all know about anybody, any profession, but since we're talking about real estate here, there are someone may be represented by someone, but that relationship may not last. So is it still worth like trying to get the information and
So
checking in later at a later point to how are
yeah,
you doing?
they're still going to leave you the information because the feedback form is designed that way, and they might want to be in the giveaway, right? So you're still going to get their contact data. But one of the questions that I ask when they're wrapping up, and I'm having that what I call the transition into the consult, is I ask them, how does this house meet what you're looking for? Well, the backyard was okay, but we got 3 dogs and maybe a little bit bigger, whatever they say, right? And you go, oh, I understand. So if I'm hearing you right, maybe this one wasn't the best fit, and something with an extra bedroom and a little bit larger yard would really fit your family's dynamic better. Did I hear that right? And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, exactly. That's what I just said. Great. Do you have a buyer specialist like me already helping you with that? I'm going to ask the question directly. Do you have a buyer specialist like me, right? Notice I said like me, I'm the specialist, right? It's psychology, helping you with that already. And if they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. Our agent is Jan Smith. She's awesome, but we just swung through. Okay, great. Well, listen, Jan's awesome. You're in good hands. I'm not going to approach that any further. If they're like, well, not really. Like we have an agent we were talking to. Oh, okay. Well, so are you just talking with them now, or do you have a signed representation agreement on file with them? No, we haven't signed anything with them yet. Okay, well, listen, what I'd love to do in that case, can I make a suggestion? Why don't I buy you your favorite cup of coffee later today? And let's just talk a little bit more about what you're trying to accomplish to see if it might be a good fit. Is that okay? Could we do that? Because they do not, even though they're like, well, I'm talking to an agent, they're not represented by an agent if there's not a signed representation agreement. If they say, yeah, we've signed some paperwork with her, we are shopping with her, I'm not approaching. I'm not even, that's unethical. Like you're someone else's client. I'm not touching that. But ask the question, right? Do you have a great buyer specialist like me helping you out already? Maybe. Are you just chatting with somebody, or have you already signed a representation agreement with them? If they say yes to that question, I'm not engaging you any further. That's unethical. If they say, no, we haven't signed anything, we just kind of chit-chatted, can I make a suggestion then? How about we meet for coffee and let's talk about what you need? And I'm going to set that appointment. That is not unethical. Just because they were chatting with another agent doesn't mean that they're working with the agent, right? So that's the line. Ask the question directly. Do you have a signed agreement with another agent? Yes, I do. You're in good hands. They'll take care of you. That's it. No, we haven't signed anything. Hey, listen, I'd love to just sit down and see what works for you. Could I buy you a cup of coffee later this afternoon when this open house wraps up? Set the appointment. That's how I approach it.
And that's one thing where I think that a lot of real estate agents, from what I see, they just try to make things too complicated.
Yeah.
And well, we can't do this, we can't do that. And your approach there of being direct and finding out, and it's like A, B, or C. It's keeping it simple, keeping it direct. Keeping it within the ethics of what NAR requires, and really just what you as a person should require of yourself anyway. Yeah. Just to be honest, ethical, upfront, and serve your clients well.
Yep. Now, if you really want to do an open house, I'm going to shift gears just slightly. If you really want to do an open house where you can almost guarantee none of the buyers walking through the door are represented, go call a for sale by owner and offer to do an open house for them. I guarantee you, a buyer's agent who is representing a buyer will not let their buyer walk into that house. It is what it is. Most agents are scared to death to even talk to a FSBO, much less work with them. You can go get great listings by helping FSBOs. You can offer to host an open house for a for sale by owner. You're still going to get great social media content. You're still going to be seen as the busy professional in your market. You're going to build a relationship with a seller. And every buyer that walks through the door, 99% of the time, they're unrepresented. What's the downside to making that phone call and offering some help? right? So if you're worried about, well, maybe they got a buyer's agent already, maybe they don't. One, ask the question directly. If you don't know, ask the question to be clear. Two, if you want to be sure almost every time that they don't, just go talk to FSBOs and host open houses for them.
Wonderful, wonderful. What about after the open house? What should an agent be doing after they've had the open house?
Yeah. So follow up is everything in this business. I don't care what lead generation strategy you're using, follow up is critical. So as soon as humanly possible after the open house, every person that left you data on the feedback form should be entered into your CRM unless they very clearly said, yes, I'm working with an agent. I'm already represented. I got signed paperwork. You can text them and say, thanks so much for showing up. You don't need to follow up with them. They are represented. Everyone else in the CRM on a follow-up campaign. You should call them all that day to thank them for showing up and seeing if there's anything else you can do for them. If you didn't already book an appointment with them, you should be asking for the appointment when you call them back that day. If you don't get a hold of them, shoot them a text, say, thanks so much for dropping by. Really appreciate it. Let me know if I can help. Call them back in 48 hours, right? So many agents miss this. If you're not following up consistently, you're not going to do that business. It's as simple as that. You can't over follow up.
What would you say is you're not following up enough, or you're following up too much where you're bothering someone?
There's really no such thing as following up too much. If you're texting someone 3 times in the same day, I think everyone realizes you're a jerk. Don't do that. Here's what I'll tell you. Here's what I coach my own agents, right? So we built a challenge called the 100K in 100 days challenge. We built a step-by-step roadmap to follow to put 100 grand in GCI in the agent's pipeline in 100 days. It's a great little thing that we do. We love it. And what we teach them in that roadmap is every new lead you get. So whether that's Facebook Marketplace, that's a Facebook group, that's a phone call, that's a lead, that's a Google, that's an open house, wherever you get the data, doesn't matter. Every new lead gets 10 touch points in the first 30 days. So that's about an average of every 3 days you should be hitting them, right? The first couple days, you should be phone call, text, tomorrow, phone call, text. If that doesn't get them, a couple days later, phone call, text. A few days later, phone call, text, right? Don't bombard them multiple times a day. But when you first get a lead in, you should try to reach out to them at a minimum of 10 times in the first 30 days, which is an average of about once every 3 days. That's okay. What we teach, right? That's not necessarily perfect science, but that's what we teach, right? There's some pretty solid sales statistics out there that show that most sales don't happen until at a minimum somewhere between the 5th and the 7th attempt, and as many as sometimes 12 plus attempts before the sale closes. So if I know I have to touch base with somebody 7 to 10 times on average, well, I need to be planning to touch base at least 10 times on average if I want that business. And so that's what we base that from.
So definitely be purposeful with the follow-up. Be diligent about that. Make sure that you're not falling behind, because that's where, and that's in any business. I'm a lender of, have been for a few years, but it's all in the follow-up. But so we're going to wrap up there for today. And do you have any final thoughts on?
Don't be scared of open houses. If you think they don't work, it's probably because they're not going to work for you, because you're not going to do it right. We will have to definitely continue this conversation, because there's so many things to talk about. How to prep for the open house properly, how to advertise it in advance, when to put your yard signs out. It's a lot earlier than most people think. There's so much that goes into this. We'll have to keep going with this.
Absolutely. Because that's one thing that, as I've been tracking this, is I'll see an open house come online the day before the open house.
Yeah, don't bother. You missed
it was like, well, what are you doing this for? You need to do. And I do want to encourage anybody who's watching this. Most of the agents that are watching this are already subscribed to Open Houses USA. Hey, listen, we've got free plans for you to be able to post your open houses. Even if you don't have open houses, still subscribe to it, because we have agent notes in there that any agent who's subscribed, they can see a note directly to another agent. uh, which the general home user, home buyer does not see. It's just to the agents, which can be very valuable. But there's a lot of other benefits. Help us get the word out about this. This is something that can be very valuable. One nice thing about Open Houses USA is you can customize your profile. You can customize your open houses, your listing to have it look more like the way you want to, instead of just another site pulling data from the MLS sheet. So there's a lot of value to this, and help us make it better. We're new at this, and we're trying to get everything right to begin with, but we're always going to be looking to make it better for you. So, Walt, we're going to continue this because you always have great information. You're always giving some, you're always wanting to help other agents, and that's very valuable. Anybody that is, excuse me, that is needing a change, and you need someone that can help coach you, talk to Walt. I see him online all the time, and we're not even talking. I just see a lot of things, but I always love when we do get the chance to talk. So thank you very much, Walt. Again, thank you.
Absolutely.